Welcome to the David Spisak Show. I'm so delighted that you're here today. You know, one of my favorite, maybe my favorite events of the whole year, and I say one of my because I'm so fortunate today to be joined by Jason Stein. Jason Stein, as most of you know, is the host of Cars and Culture podcast on SiriusXM each week, probably multiple times a week, I believe, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And he's also the managing director of the Presidio Group. And that's what I was referring to, is because coming up next week is, I believe, one of the most impactful events of the entire year in our industry. And this is coming at a time when we've seen unprecedented change. And I believe what we're seeing today is nothing compared to what we're going to see just a few years from now. But Jason, first and foremost, thank you so much for taking the time to join me. I know you got an awful lot on your plate with next week's event coming up.
Pleasure to be with you, David, as always. And thank you for joining next week. It's going to be great in many ways.
We're looking forward to it being there. And I mean, I've said this before. I've said a couple things, guys, about this event. If you're going, you know, and you're lucky enough to have one of those 135, 140 seats, I don't know what it is.
That's very what it is. Yep. Mm-hmm.
By design, you're very fortunate. If you haven't been before, you're going to be absolutely blown away. If you did make it this time, I hope this creates significant FOMO that perhaps a couple things happen. Number one, they find a bigger art museum to do next year, which is what it's going to take. Or you jump in earlier, because this is not an event you want to miss. There are some of the biggest, like when you think, Jason, innovators, thought leaders, some of the leading dealership groups in the country, when you think about venture capital, when you think about everybody, all the components, all the people, all the businesses it will take to move this industry forward in a very successful way, they will literally all be there. Is that true?
It is. So it's the third annual Presidio Auto Technology Summit. It's next week in Denver. And we say it's where innovation meets capital. But what we also say is that it's sold out. So that's a really fun thing for us to say now, just in the third year of the event. And it is, I think what makes it so special is it's an exclusive one-day event. It really connects what we say are the boldest minds in automotive tech, as well as capital and retail transformation. And as you know, David, at a time when innovation is moving at light speed, the summit really offers a rare opportunity to connect with industry innovators and capital at the same time. But the thing about it is the audience, and you know this from being there. And I did the count on it as we were counting seats and counting whether or not we had any empty seats left. In the C-suite arena, okay, so those are your chief strategy officers, your CEOs, your CFOs. We have 58 of 140 people who are in the C-suite. That includes 33 CEOs. We have 23 vice presidents. We have 9 founders. We have 45 investors coming. So we're bringing in not just 140 folks, but we're bringing in folks at the highest levels. And we'll talk all kinds of things related to the industry, which is capital, and making sure that the capital panel understands what the tech folks want, and the tech folks know what the investors want. But we'll also bring dealers together and data, and we'll talk about AI, obviously. And then we'll close it out with our keynote speaker, Fan Jin, who's the director and general manager at Amazon Autos, who's making all kinds of news at all times. So there you go. The third annual event. And if you couldn't be with us this year because you didn't sign up early enough, I'm telling you now that it's next October. So we're really happy, and really happy to see you there as well.
Thank you. And obviously, we'll have an opportunity. I mean, I'm looking forward to seeing you, Brody, Keith, and everybody else there, you know, that are members of your wonderful team, as well as this just incredible attendees that are going to be there. But I'll also have the opportunity, as you know, to sit down and speak with some of those folks. And as a result, if you were not able to get a ticket, if you were not able to attend this year, the good news is we'll be having sit downs, conversations with those people in the room that make it happen. And you're talking about, by the way, 45 investors. You're talking about billions of dollars in capital. You're talking about innovators who have had multiple exits. You're talking about a Jay Vijayan, who's got perhaps one of the most successful private companies in auto, probably the most successful with Techion, and they're just getting started. But we'll be able to sit down with some of those people that are literally going to shape the industry in the next 1 or 2, 3 years and share that out, Jason, as some little bits of the tech summit so that people can get a taste. And hopefully they'll reach out to Diane Durbin, your wonderful chief of staff, early and say, hey, here's my credit card. Sign me up.
Right.
This for me. So
we'll have folks from, I mean, it's kind of interesting. It's all ends of the spectrum, as you say, David. It is from A to Z sync all the way to XPEL and everything in between, right? War Cloud is there. Obviously, JM Family.
Yeah, SkyVision's there. JM&A is.
JM Family is our lead sponsor. They have been with us from the start on this. They are also bringing all kinds of folks, and you know how interested they are in the tech side of the business. And everybody from Hop Drive to Chase Frazier at FM Capital is going to moderate. William Knowles from Maroney is going to moderate another session on AI, and Stella and Dealer Tire. It goes on and on and on. So we're really fortunate. We're really happy with where we are, and we like to position ourselves at the center point of these deals that are being done. We want to bring together the capital that's interested in all of the innovation that's happening. And as you know, innovation's happening faster than ever before. So we feel, Brody and I feel that this is an area where we can really dig in as Presidio, talk about our relationships, make the connections that make deals happen. And deals do get done at this event, which is the whole primary point of it.
Well, pun intended, let's shift gears for a second, because, there's more than tech to Presidio, obviously. And Keith obviously runs the technology side, but you also have another part of the business that has done pretty significant number of transactions this year on the buy-sell side. Would you mind just giving everybody just a little bit on your perspective? First of all, what has this year been like? What's your feeling as far as an outlook for the industry as we go into the fourth quarter in 26? And if you want to talk a little bit about any of those transactions, that'd be great.
Yeah, so Presidio President George Corollas and his deal team have been extremely busy this year, especially the back half of the year. And the team is very active in supporting U.S. dealership groups, and we've closed more than 10 transactions during the first 9 months of 2025, which pushes our all-time franchise transaction count over 275 now. And the dealership M&A market, as George says, continues to gain momentum and has gained momentum throughout 2025. And we don't see the pace slowing down anytime soon. And we continue to see a trend toward active portfolio management among what are essentially very sophisticated leadership teams that want to position their dealership groups for long-term strategic growth. And when you look at what has gone on over the course of the last number of months, especially after I think the smoke cleared from the election a year ago, folks who were sitting on the sidelines got really more active. And if it was chaos, then it was everyone's chaos, and they were learning to manage within that. But just some dealership transaction highlights: the Fletcher Jones deal acquired by AutoNation, which occurred just recently. Stiber Subaru, which was just acquired by Alithia. We just announced that this week. Mercedes-Benz of Buckhead, real prime property in Atlanta, acquired by Group One. I mean, those are just a few of the highlights just in the last month or so. There's a lot of momentum behind it. We feel that there's a settling down of the market to some extent. And ultimately, brand and geography are the most important qualities. And I think the third quarter of this year has seen continued momentum within that market and building on a rebound that really began earlier this year. And since midsummer, the pace of buyers and sellers that are turning to Presidio for transaction assistance has been, as George says, has been on fire. So that's what we're seeing right now. It remains a seller's market for dealerships. And we are really representing a lot of high quality brands in some prime locations, and more to come, David.
It's remarkable, isn't it, how resilient, how viable this industry, dealers have remained. I mean, it really literally doesn't matter what you throw at dealers. And I've been around obviously a long time. I'm older than dirt. I remember Black Monday, in 1987.
Oh, yeah. Me too.
Right. You remember the Black Monday? I mean, that was okay. Well, that's going to be the end of it. I remember when Ford and GM had plans that they were going to take over retail. We were the Ford retail network, right? I remember obviously the big recession in 2008, cash for clunkers, and then you had airlines being bailed out, and you had automotive industry aspects of it being bailed out. Thought that was going to be the end. I mean, e-commerce was supposed to be in, social was supposed to be in, blockchain, crypto, Tesla, and
Uber.
Uber. Oh yeah, I remember. I lived in San Francisco. I mean, when Uber came out, they predicted that's it. Well, it's interesting. Today there's more cars there in San Francisco than there were before Uber. So
Yep.
I mean, it just seems like pandemic, biblical plague, chip shortage, tariffs, doesn't matter. This industry has a phenomenal way of normalizing, adjusting, reinventing. And that really is kind of in the wheelhouse, isn't it, for Presidio? Because you guys live on both sides. You live on that technology side. You live on the capital side. You live on the buy-sell transaction side. Doesn't that give you kind of a unique perspective in this industry?
Yeah, it's almost like the Tech Summit. We're positioned right at the heart of what's changing within the industry, and we can address whatever transformation occurs, and we can do it swiftly. I just want to go back to what you're saying about the market, because what we see is that seasonally adjusted annual sales rate, at least for the third quarter, reached 16.4 million vehicles, and that's up from 15.6 a year earlier. And a lot of that increase came from consumers accelerating purchases of another disruptor in the market, which was expiring electric vehicle tax credits, which electric vehicles were going to change the landscape completely. Well, now we know what's happened there. This is a strong market, and we really feel that it's going to continue to be strong into next year. Our pipeline on the deal side is stronger today than it was a year ago. We really feel that the full year 2025 transaction counts and the number of dealerships sold will meet or exceed last year's levels, and we've slightly increased our full year data. But just know that the pipeline of deals continues to be strong. I think that reflects the strength of the industry, the relationships that we have, and I think the overall heightened deal activity. So I think on the tech side and on the deal side, the dealership transaction side, you're going to continue to see more momentum, and I think things have settled down. The tariff talk has now quieted. People are just dealing with what exists. And like I said before, brand and geography will matter.
It matters. I think brand matters more than, I think this is my 46th, 47th year I'm going into, and I think it matters more than ever before. I cannot recall a time when brand, the franchise you have, and the geography, the location matters more than it does today. Do you agree?
I agree. I agree with that. I think it's by far the most important thing. We see that on the deal side too. So yeah, I wouldn't disagree at all, David.
So speaking of partners, you just touched on one of your partners that you've developed this tremendous relationship with is NCM, right? And NCM has had an impact on the industry for the better part, I believe, somewhere around 75 years now. Obviously, the creator of 20 groups and OEM relationships. They've done training there. They've got their finger on the pulse when it comes to data. I consider their benchmark data the industry's leading benchmark data out there, period. What has that relationship meant to Presidio, and how does that play into the things that you're referring to in terms of your unique ability or perspective as a company to work with dealers that are considering buying a store or selling a store?
Yeah, I mean, it's a very unique relationship now going on a couple of years. It's the Presidio NCM Average Dealership Performance Benchmark report. We're actually getting those numbers today, so I don't have the numbers right now for the third quarter, but we will have them actually next week at the Tech Summit. We're going to present. Kevin Tynan and I will present where we are for the third quarter, thanks to NCM. And it's data that's updated quarterly, and it is a true partnership with NCM that really offers ongoing insights into dealership performance trends. We get to find out where profitability lies, and it's a great snapshot when their slice of the industry magnified. It's the only true snapshot of where profitability is within dealerships right now. You know, some of the other reporting data has gone away. NADA used to have its regular reports, but now we know that NCM, given their access into all of the thousands of dealerships where it has a relationship, we have a true snapshot of where dealership profitability is headed. And what we've seen is a bit of a tick back up again. And we'll find out today whether that's continued through the third quarter. We expect that it will.
Yeah, I mean, obviously everybody expects the fourth quarter EV side to be impacted, at least 25-30%. There's no surprise. And of course, we're already seeing OEMs that are shifting very rapidly into a different direction. I just saw on CNBC just this morning, the CEO of Stellantis announcing a $13 billion of new investment, opening up plants that were closed before. They're going to build a mid-size Dodge pickup in their Toledo plant where the Wrangler is built currently. And I mean, I don't get the feeling in the midst of all this change and all of the AI and everything that's dominating kind of the airwaves. Nobody's backing off of retail automotive at all, Jason. People are leaning forward because it is still an incredibly viable business. The people that are attending next week, what are some of the sessions that you're excited about as you go into next week's summit? You mentioned a space on a couple of people moderating, like William Knowles. What are you excited about?
I'm excited about all of it. I mean, we're gonna touch every end of the spectrum. We'll start the day with Kevin and I talking about the NCM data as well as the industry as a whole, and in basically what Presidio has launched this year called Drive-In Live. It's a drive-in session where we give a snapshot over the course of about 30 minutes. We take Q&A from the audience. We already have a lot of people signed up for that, so you can go to our website and see that as well. But we'll start with the Drive-In Live. We'll shift over to the Capital panel where Chase Frazier will moderate an excellent conversation that involves leaders of the investment industry. Dealer panel, I'll be moderating a conversation with Jeremy Beaver, Stephen Doherty, Terrence Rasmussen. We'll talk data in the afternoon. I'll do a fireside chat with Jay Vijayan, who you mentioned earlier. William Knowles will moderate a discussion on artificial intelligence, which you have to hit every time you get anybody together. And then I'll close it out with Fan. But we only do this in one day. This is not stretched out over multiple days. There are not extended commitments. The price tag next year, it's under $1,000. So it's, relative to some other events, is very affordable. And by the way, David, we will do something at the end that not a lot of other events do, which is we'll bring up 3 or 4 different people on stage to allow the audience to basically ask that group, ask us anything. And that involves Fan. It involves Marianne Johnson, who's Executive Vice President, Chief Product Officer at Cox Automotive, and Matt Leone, who's CEO of DriveCentric. And basically, we'll have taken what they've said during the day and everyone else has taken, we'll distill it down, and then we'll ask the audience, what do you want to ask these folks? What do you want to know that you haven't heard already? And then that's it. And that's it. We have a cocktail hour, and that's it. But the commitment is not a long one, but boy, it's a packed day with no session more than 30 minutes. So it's pretty invigorating stuff, and I'm excited about the whole thing.
I don't want to sound like one of those late night infomercials, but wait, there's more. Because I don't know who came up with this idea. It probably was one of those off the cuff things. Why don't we do this? But Breakfast with Brody. So, you've always done these one-day events, right? In the morning, out by 5:30 or so, and people love that. One of the things that also is unique, that's different about your event, is within the midst of all of that incredible content, you provide real time for people to connect and have meaningful conversations. And that's where a lot of these things that are going to shape the future happen, is within those conversations. Well, tell me, who came up with the idea for having a bowl of cereal, Fruit Loops or something with Brody? Actually, it's probably going to be more like granola with Brody the next morning. For people that said, this is such an action-packed day, I want to be able to kind of assimilate all of it, digest it, come back the next morning, and maybe sit down and have the opportunity to have some extended conversations. How did that come about?
It came about because we listened to our audience. And what the audience said in the surveys last year was, we want more. We want a little more networking time if we can have it. We want to get together with folks because there's so much programming that goes on during the day. We want to have a follow-up, time that you can get together. You can follow up with a colleague. You can meet somebody new, and the whole point of it is just to create additional opportunities to make deals happen. And, we'll be having several meetings. I know other people will be having meetings that day. But Breakfast with Brody is an informal, not programmed opportunity to sit down with our CEO, Brody Cobb, listen to what he has to say, and also share ideas with others. So it's a great end cap to the entire, basically day-long program.
I can imagine Brody going, oh, okay, all right, I'm fine. If that's what the audience wants, let's give it to him. And he's probably thinking, it's going to be nice. We'll get a nice table for 4, table for 6, and I'll hang out and have conversations. It's not a table for 4 or table for 6, isn't it? It's astonishing.
It's about 60 or 70 people.
Good God, it's a lot of Fruit Loops. Right? There's a lot of people that are going to. It is. So you're talking about roughly half the people that are going to be there the day before. Think about this for everybody, whether it's folks on the capital side, in the innovation side, the dealership side, the VC side, whatever part of the business, half of those people actually decided, I want to stay behind and be able to have extended conversations. Did that surprise you guys?
I think so. It surprised us that half the people would stay over. It also surprised us that our opening part of the day is coffee and connections, which is exactly the same thing but happens on the day of the event. And David, we have about 110 out of 130 folks who've said they're showing up for that. So we brought in extra baristas. We're gonna have more tables. These are good programs that happen.
Starbucks that day in the neighborhood.
We need yes, or you might want to bring your own. We need more space in the Denver Art Museum, clearly. But these are all good things. They're all good things.
They really are. Jason, let's pivot and talk about culture and your podcast, Culture and Cars, right? Cars and Culture, rather. Cars and Culture is on what station?
Business Channel 132.
132. And it airs fresh every Friday? Friday,
and then repeats Saturday, Sunday, and Monday morning. And it is also, of course, it's on Spotify, it's on Pandora, it's on YouTube. It's amazing. The YouTube channel has almost 50,000 subscribers, which is all organic. And having done this for a long time, when you don't put money against something to try to grow the audience in an inorganic way, that's a long road to 50,000 subs. And I think over the course of the last 4.5 years, been really proud of how everything has grown around that. And we've got 17 million views on the YouTube channel, 223 guests, 224 as of Friday, of this coming Friday, and all walks of life. I've had folks from industry, and I could have spent the next decade interviewing folks from a business to business perspective. I by way of my former job, I could have interviewed suppliers, dealers, OEMs, industry folks, and we could have gone on forever. But I really wanted to do something different, a bit of a creative outlet that I started 4.5 years ago. SiriusXM has allowed me the opportunity to interview all kinds of people from all walks of life, and just recently had now double Formula One constructor champion and McLaren boss Zach Brown on the program, who's an LA kid who has done the top top of the Formula One mountain. Recently interviewed the head of Lamborghini, have interviewed the head of Maserati. I've had artists, athletes, musicians, car designers on the program. And what's really interesting about it is it has all grown from the same place, which is to chronicle car culture around the world. And that YouTube channel has representation from 52 countries. So we've had viewers from every corner of the world have watched this program on YouTube or listen to it, and nearly 500,000 watch hours on YouTube. I don't even know what the math is divided by the number of shows. It's a crazy amount of time. We've had Jay Leno, we've had Mark Wahlberg, I've had Kyle Busch. It's Bruce Meyer, who's a legend in the car collector space. It's been a lot of fun. It's been a lot of fun.
And it's so cool that you did that because, this industry is really like no other. It truly is. I mean, this industry has created more millionaires and billionaires. This industry has allowed people that didn't have a high school diploma to grow up to be dealers. This industry, obviously fuels municipal tax more than any other industry, I believe, across this country. This industry touches the fabric of every community in every city where every dealer is. But this industry is also one where people that are not directly in our industry have a real fascination with our industry. This industry has so many brands, growing number of brands, where they have legitimate enthusiasts for those brands. Of course, you touch on, remarkable companies like Lamborghini and McLaren. You think about what's happened in Formula One, Jason, it's mind-blowing what's happened to the popularity of that sport in the last 5 years. I mean, does it ever stop surprising you, the reach of this industry?
No, it doesn't. And, you talk about the reach of the industry and the reach of people within the industry or people who just love cars or want to be associated or around cars. You talk about Formula One. I had the chance to interview Formula One CEO Stefano Domenicali. And Stefano, he used to run Lamborghini. He was an OEM boss, but he also understands very much understands the dealer world, but also understands more of the high performance world now. And, he makes the connection into Good Morning America host Michael Strahan, who is a McLaren ambassador with Formula One, that then comes around to Zach Brown, who runs McLaren. I mean, it is all tentacles. And what I found in starting the program is that you pull a string on cars and culture, and the whole world opens up. And I'd like to say that in the 250 shows, I don't think there's anything in the automotive world out there that's chronicling what we are chronicling. It is Roger Penske. It is the lead singer of the Bare Naked Ladies. It is Guy Berryman, the bass player of Coldplay, who is also the art director of Road Rat magazine in the UK, which is a coffee table like automotive book. It is all ends of the spectrum, and so many car dealers who are also car guys as well and gals. It's amazing at all ends of it.
So I got to ask you, and I don't know if anybody's ever asked you this, but most people in this industry knew you originally from automotive news, right? When you were running automotive news, they knew you from the industry events, these tremendous industry events that you put on back then. They've known you certainly through Presidio. They've gotten to know you, other people, through Cars and Culture, or Culture and Cars, Cars and Culture. I keep switching that around. Sorry, I'm advanced here. But I got to ask you, how did you first end up in the car business? Like, how did you end up in this industry to begin with? Like, how did that happen?
I was a sportswriter, and I was in Indiana working for a newspaper, and I was covering the NFL, and I was covering racing, and I was covering all kinds of things, a little bit of the NBA, college football, college basketball. And my father, he was a journalist as well. So the apple in the tree here. But my dad started a car column when he was at a small paper in Windsor, Ontario, across the border from Detroit, the Windsor Star, and he was the car columnist. In addition to, he had proposed, "Hey, why don't I write about technology, and which is the advent of laptop computers, and why don't I write about different types of technology too, which are cars?" Well, lo and behold, the manufacturers were sending cars to our home, and he was test driving cars. And I thought, as a kid, well, gosh, this is the greatest job ever. I mean, we have cars in the driveway all the time, and we don't own them. And when I was a sports writer in Indiana, I did the same thing. I pulled out Dad's playbook, and I went to my editor and I said, "Hey, would you mind if I wrote a car column? And I'll do it in addition to whatever else I'm doing. I won't charge you anymore. I'll do it by spare time." And he said, "Sure. Why don't you review your own car first, and then and turn it into me, and we'll see what it looks like." So I did. So it was a 1996 Pontiac Sunfire, if you remember the days of Pontiac. So I reviewed the Sunfire, and I gave it a 3 out of 4. And I said, it could be better here, and it is good here, and blah, 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 value for money. And he said, "Sure, go ahead and start it." So now I started a Sunday car column, and lo and behold, I was the one who had all of the manufacturer cars in my driveway. I had the Mercedes showing up at the same time as the Porsche, at the same time as the Chevy Silverado, and my neighbors thought that I was probably in a different business than sports writing, and that led to then being invited by manufacturers on product launch trips, and then also being invited to auto shows in Chicago and in Detroit, and LA, and at a time when auto shows were a really big deal, and I was writing industry stories. All of a sudden, I would write my car column, but I would also write an industry story. And I was from the Windsor, Detroit area, and I wanted to get back there from Indiana, and I applied for a job at Automotive News, and there was an opening for a marketing reporter, and my soon-to-be editor at the time, David Sedgwick, called me from Automotive News and offered me the marketing reporter job, which is the entry-level job at Automotive News, and that was in 2003. And I left there almost 20 years later, after having lived in Europe on assignment, running the European business, and ultimately running the American business, the Chinese business, launching the Canadian business. And it's been a wild ride, but it's a long way from being a sports writer, David.
Yeah, it isn't it. I mean, sometimes you got to sit there and think. It's that old thing. Like, if you would have changed one thing, right? If you would not have kind of
gone on
the road, right? We're not sitting here. We're not talking right now, and so it's really incredible how that worked out. Lastly, you made the pivot. You made a move after about 20 years over to the Presidio Group.
Yep.
And what has that meant? I mean, it just seems like you're having a ton of fun. You're doing a lot of things. Absolutely. You're having great impact, but it just seems like you're having the time of your life as well.
I am. And thanks for characterizing it that way, because that's exactly what it is. And I say to George Carolus or Brody or Key Style all the time, this is we're having fun. And, we're at the center point of everything that's occurring. You mentioned it earlier in the interview. We're at the center of tech transformation. We're at the center of dealership M&A activity. We're at the center of the industry, and I feel with the people that we have surrounded ourselves with, the Amy Wilson, who came over from Automotive News to run our quarterly report, which is published every quarter, to Kevin Tynan, who came over from Bloomberg Intelligence. There's we call it a perspectives team, and it's the perspectives team where Presidio has decided to invest in thought leadership. It's decided to say, okay, we're going to not only put ourselves at the center of all these transactions and help buyers and sellers in various places, but we're also going to lead with our own intelligence, perspective, context. We're going to tell the industry where the next pivot point is, and we've just been so honored to be part of that group. It is it's a next chapter for me. It's been a next chapter for Amy, for Kevin, to come in and to bring our relationships from those 20 years and our perspective, maybe a bit of our Sportswriter days, but to bring all of that together and to host these two events that we do. We didn't get the chance to talk about the retail event that occurs in the spring, which is monumental. We have a big announcement coming on where that's going to be next May. So stay tuned for that. We have a great partnership that's been formed around that. It's another sold out, must attend. Oh my gosh, how can I get there event that brings together the leaders, the true leaders, not only on stage, but in the audience. You said it best before. These aren't just people who show up to every event. They only show up to this event. And what George Corollas does in building that program out is simply phenomenal. And so that's the spring event. We just have next week's fall event. In between, we do quarterly reports. I'm now up to 56 guests on our Full Throttle podcast. We have the quarterly report. We have everything under the sun, basically. So how can it not be fun? Because we've positioned ourselves exactly where we need to be. And frankly, for me, where I was before, which is at the center of the industry. So, yeah, thanks for asking that question.
Yeah, I mean, 2 years ago, the retailer conference, if you weren't able to be there, can we just think about this? You get there in the morning, you check in. It starts at, call it 11:30 or noon. It wraps up around 5:30. You're having meaningful conversations with some of the biggest and best dealers in the country, bar none. Dealers that this is the only industry event I ever see them attend. And it opens with Nick Saban, right? 7-time national champion. And you think, well, how do you top that? Well, you close it with Carl Sewell, right? The greatest dealers, most iconic, legendary dealers of all time.
He literally wrote the book on selling.
Literally wrote the book on CSR and client retention and selling, right? And then you think, well, that was amazing. Like, there's just no way you're going to top it. And it's the following year, last year, you opened with Alex Rodriguez, where most people know A-Rod from obviously baseball. If you don't know A-Rod as a business person, as a venture capitalist, like, your mind blown. The guy is spectacularly intelligent and successful in that realm. And then you go, oh, okay, well, how are we going to close this one? I don't know. A guy named Roger Penske, right? So it's just like, this doesn't happen anywhere else. You've mentioned partnership. All this is only possible through years and years and years of consistently building great partnerships, don't you think?
I do. And what Brody Cobb and George Corollas, Alex Watterson, Keith Style bring to the table, and me as the partners within Presidio, it is an opportunity to bring all of those collective experiences together. And Brody's long history in the industry and George's long history. I mean, everybody brings something to the table that accelerates and elevates what Presidio is doing. And that's how we're able to have events like that. And, that event itself, where, Carl Sewell was so emotional receiving a Lifetime Achievement Award that we gave him. And Roger Penske flies in from Detroit and goes to Dallas and also is the happy recipient of the award that we had given him as well, and honoring all of their legacies at the same time. And you just look around that room and you go, this is an incredible, incredible room, much like the room that we'll have next week in Denver, just in a different realm and in a different space. And that's kind of the magic of what's being done here. And I'm so proud of the team and what we're able to put together. And, it's not a team of 500 people, it is about 21, 22 folks who are really all driving in the same direction and who are trying to make a difference and interpret what's going on and make things happen.
Well, listen, I know you have much to do, so I want to be respectful of your time. I
got to go count the empty chairs in Denver.
Let me help you. There's zero.
There aren't any.
Wow. I'm going to be begging for one more. But I will look forward to seeing you, next week. One of my favorite phrases just always gets my mind going is what's next, right? Just 2 words, simple words, what's next, but it's so powerful. And what's next in the industry is next week is the Tech Summit, the Presidio Tech Summit that happens only one time a year. And again, if you didn't make it, at least I'll be able to bring some really cool conversations from people that are there. You mentioned so many of them, Gemini, Amazon, Techion, Fraser McCombs, FMC Capital, and so many more. And so that's really cool. And I'll be looking forward to anything and everything that falls into the realm of what's next with you, because whether it's your podcast, some of those fascinating people within the industry and just within cars and culture, you do such a spectacular job. What's next with Presidio in terms of transactions, and what's next for the industry? Well, I think it's all starting in that event next week. Thank you for taking the time. And
so happy to have you supporting us, David. You mentioned partner. You are a great partner of ours. Thank you for all that you do for the industry. And thank you for your time today.
Thank you as well. For everybody that took the time to join us, thank you for your brief partnership here. Appreciate you taking the time to stop by to listen in. And by the way, you could go to davidspisak.com and you could get the show notes for this episode. You could find out how to communicate or how to contact the Presidio Group, how to find out more about the next events that are coming up. You could also find out how to reach out to Jason and get a direct connection to his podcast, his wonderful podcast, Cars and Culture, on SiriusXM. I am saying that right?
Yeah, you are. Yeah, as well as Full Throttle, which is Presidio's podcast.
And I'll make sure that our team puts a link to the Full Throttle podcast as well. Please take the time to share this out to anybody who is fascinated with the industry and who's interested with what is coming next. And I'll look forward to seeing you next time on the David Spisak Show. Thank you so much.